Oh, it's nothing. I just want to say, David, thank you. Would you stand up, turn around? That is the most gorgeous rendition of the Pulitzer that I've heard. That you played that medley. Man, you had me singing back there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, I'm sure you know, oh my God, you actually showed up, huh? That is incredible. I'm so happy. When I saw that rain, I thought, oh shit. No, but you came. You saw, you conquered. I simply, I don't want to delay this anymore. I assume you haven't seen this amazing movie before. I'm speaking of course, this reimagining. I'll be really brief. It's probably the most thrilling time of my life. That I'm 40, that I have reached this kind of, what can I say, apex. And we have before you the most incredible movie you will have seen in many, many years. It's easy to say this because now all the critiques are out, and you've heard, I'm sure. But it is every bit as fantastic and thrilling and moving and joyous as you've heard it is. I'm going to be watching, and of course, I'm going to talk with Keith afterwards. We'll talk about the movie. I don't want to delay you anymore because you should be dying to see this. See you later.
Thank you. We'll be here afterwards for our Q&A. Okay, so you can see everybody. So I'll start with a few questions, but at that point, I'm going to invite folks who have questions to come down. We have a microphone here. I don't want you to come down now. I want you to wait until I tell you. And I would love to start with some kids. So if there are any kids in the audience, when I give the prompt, I would love for you to be the first one. So adults, you guys can sit in your chairs for another minute and let those kids have their moment, and then we'll give you a chance.
And before you do, I just want to tell you, I think this is my 6th time. I could sit here and sob for a half hour. I'm destroyed.
Thank you for spending your birthday weekend with us. It's a big birthday, and we're so honored that you're joining us as part of it.
It's interesting. I think I just get more emotional every time I see it, because I know what's coming, and I say, no. Oh, aren't they wonderful? Aren't they wonderful?
Very wonderful. I want to thank Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner for making all these amazing decisions in the film, but the best decision was to bring you back for such an You're the core, you're the heart of the original film. And if they would have brought you back, it's happened. We've seen films where they bring the heart of the film, they remake it, and you're there for a moment, like a minute, right? And they're like, oh, there's the person from the first film. But that would have been the biggest mistake in the world to not do. And
I don't think Tony Kushner would ever. He's the one who, it's his fault that I'm here.
It's his fault. Could you, I was going to ask you.
Actually, the gay people in the audience will be interested in this. His husband was Mark Harris, who's written some great books, by the way, on film. And he just wrote the latest one on Mike Nichols. They're partners. Actually, they are married. And it was Mark who said to him, when he came to New York, and he said, Steven Spielberg wants me to do this first thing Mark said, I can't believe it, he said, what are you going to do about Doc? And they both went, huh. And then he said, why don't you have Rita Moreno play his widow? Therefore, one of the luckiest days of my life. I feel so privileged to be a part of this. Really, I can't tell you. I'm sitting here so moved, like I have never seen this movie.
It feels like a different story with that addition.
Oh yeah.
So when you came on, was that all fully fleshed out? You're executive producer on this as well. I imagine that they asked you for a little bit of help on those,
And all kinds
stories.
of stuff, Hispanic and Puerto Rican, and I help with a lot of things, actually. I still don't know what an executive producer really does. I'm an actress.
So what did you do?
One of the funniest things that ever happened in the original movie, when the Jets were in a car, there were about 4 of them, and apparently they were speaking. And a cop stopped them, and he asked each one what they did, and one of them said, "Oh, I'm doing some." The guy was like, "Come on." He said, "I'm doing some, doing this movie." Sure, they said, "That's how I feel. I'm a producer." Sort of, kind of. No, that's not entirely true, because I'm definitely not a producer in name only. He knew that I could be very helpful to him in terms of all things Hispanic, not just Puerto Rican, but Hispanic. And of course, it was Tony who pushed me on him. And Tony told me that when he said to him, what about Rita Moreno as Doc's widow? Apparently, Steven said, oh my God. But I thought when he called me on the phone the first time about this project, that he was asking me to be a cameo. And I didn't know him, by the way. And I said, well, Steven, and I was trying to put on my nicest manner, and I said, I don't do cameos. And it was hard to say for several reasons, because one of the reasons was, I can't believe he's asking me to do a cameo for his movie. And I just said, I'm so flattered that you asked, but I just, don't you think it would distract your movie? Before I could finish that, he said, no, it's a real part, blah, blah, blah. Can I see the script? Of course you can. And that's how it happened. But I really thought he was calling about a cameo, and I thought, he has better taste than that. Why would he ask me?
So, the song that you sing that brought the house down.
Yeah.
What kind of conversation was that? Because for those of you who are Sondheim fans out there, there's lots of different interpretations of Sondheim's songs and different shows and the order of the songs in the film tonight. But that song in particular, how were you a part of that?
First of all, when I saw it in the script, and it didn't happen in the script till about the 3rd or 4th rewrite, something like that. And when I read that 4th rewrite of the script and I saw that song, I started to cry. It happens to be one of my favorite songs. It disappeared from the Broadway production. I'm only guessing that maybe the show was running extremely long. And it was really a ballet initially. It was called the West Side Story Ballet, and there was a girl singing the song in the wings. And then one day it went out of the play, so I'm assuming that it must have been that the play was just running very, very long. And that's what happened. But the only other time I cried, when I saw the movie for the first time at 20th Century Fox, where they have a great theater, I cried. My daughter was sitting next to me. She's here tonight. And so is my cousin, Tomas Moreno. Yeah, there's a real Moreno. Anyway, I started to cry during the dance at the gym, which is, very joyous and filled with energy. And I couldn't understand why I was crying in the front. I said, why are you crying at this? And then I realized, I said, because Steven got it right. Those shots, I mean, I'm calling him Steven the Crane Spielberg. I mean, there's a lot of crane shots. Particularly the one at the very end. Isn't that a killer? The end one? Where he goes all the way up to the balcony, I mean, to the fire escape. And you see her picking up the gun and giving it to the... Oh my God, what a shot. That's the one I think that really, really gets me.
Yeah, there's some beautiful shots. So, with that song though, Stephen Sondheim, for all of our fans out there of Stephen Sondheim, we've seen those videos of him working with an artist and picking apart every line of the song.
He was brutal. Oh, don't mess with Sondheim.
Well, you did mess with Sondheim in the original, after the famous story of America, and you being a strong
Let me explain. I did it seems like a million tests to test for that part. And the reason I was even there is because Jerome Robbins had already worked with me in The Canine. And in fact, it was he who suggested to Robert Weiss, the co-director, why don't we see Rita Moreno? I think she might be a good, Anita. And I tested in every conceivable way. I tested for the dancing. I mean, he didn't know if I could dance. And I didn't know if I could dance because I hadn't danced in years and years. And I was a Spanish dancer. I was not this kind of dancer. That's called, for those of you who don't know, that's called jazz. So auditioning for this was really a bitch. And I got the part, and I was beside myself with happiness. And then I went home and I thought, well, now that I have the part, let me get the songbook to West Side Story and start learning the words to America. And I went to America and I saw this. Puerto Rico, you ugly island, island of tropic diseases. And I realized that was the original verse of America. And then I'm starting to think, I can't do this. No, I can't do this to my people. Because that patriotic boy, I sure as hell did then. And I can't do this. And then the nightmare of telling my agent that I was going to have to pull out because of principle. And agents, if you know agents, principle, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was scared to death he would talk me into doing it. Because he said, you committed to, I was terrified. And literally the day before I was going to call my agent, because I had set a date, I got a new script, meaning rewrites. And there it is, Puerto Rico, my heart's devotion. Let it sit back, and he changed it. Had nothing to do with me, but obviously somebody said to him, that's kind of harsh. Would you maybe consider changing the words? And he did.
So how did you work together on this new song?
With him?
Did you get a chance? Did he come to
No, he just sat there. The only thing he's ever said to me, I think he was on the spectrum. And he was like, no, I mean, because a lot of people say, he was always, it's hard to communicate with him, this and that. And I do believe he was, my opinion, that he was on the spectrum. And when I went into the recording studio the first day with this production, there he was. And he terrified me. I think he terrified everybody. He had, inadvertently, because that wasn't him, but he had a kind of a severe expression on his face. So I just said, hello. And I said, it's been a long time, hasn't it? And he said, you know what I remember about you? And I thought, oh shit. And I was right, because he said the premiere of West Side Story, the other one, the original one, and we were in the lobby of the theater, and you had stilettos on and you stepped on my foot. Hi, Rita, it's nice to see you again. That's all he said to me. That's what he remembered. And then I had to say to him, well, I wasn't there. I wasn't. I was doing a movie. I was doing something and I could not come to the opening. So I said, I suppose it was cheating. What's I allowed to say?
So when you said you were crying in the gym scene, I thought you were going to say it was because you didn't get to dance as much in this. And for those of us who've seen all your interviews in the last year, you come out on stage and you still have all your moves. So was there ever a moment where there was talk of you maybe having a little bit more of a dance or something?
Oh, Jesus, no. What are you talking about? I'm an old lady. No, and it's okay to be an old lady. Everybody can say,
you're an old lady who can dance.
I'm an old lady who can move. My knees are definitely, every one of my 90 years old, my knees are 90. You saw me struggling up the steps, that's why. Come on, no. Dance, and this was for Jesus. I would rather eat glass.
So,
any other questions?
I really didn't see those. So all those other wonderful dancers, were you on set for any of those? Because it's not the same choreography, but it feels very
Isn't it
similar.
brilliant? Isn't it brilliant? Imagine being Justin Peck and saying, okay, you got the job. Now you have to replace Jerome Robbins. But he did. I think one of the best numbers in the movie, aside from Cool, which I think is just brilliant, is America. It's joyous. It's on the street. The little kids are in it. The neighborhood. And in that sense, it's very different from our America. And I adore our America. But ours was acerbic. It had a very, very different feel to it. It was funnier. I think it was funnier, actually, because you could kind of concentrate. And also at that time, that was just a girls' number. And when Jerome Robbins decided to do the movie, he decided to put the boys in, which is the best thing that ever happened to America. It was delicious and charming and funny. And George was gorgeous.
And all your young new dancers or performers, who is the choreographer for this? What will we know his other work?
Wait, I'm sorry, ask
The
that.
choreographer for the new
Justin Peck?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about his other work before this?
He's from the New York City Ballet. And he's done a bunch of great ballets. But nobody knows him in America. Now they know that name. But he's just amazing. He is, cool. Look how they reconceived that with the gun. I don't know, I have to ask whose idea that was. That's insane. It might have been Justin's idea, I'm not sure.
It's a great movie.
Because I wasn't there all the time, obviously, because I didn't have that huge a part in this production. So I don't know things like that, but I can tell you other swell stories.
Well, I think we'll probably ask for a couple more, but do you mind if I turn it over to the audience? I would love to hear from, especially from some of the kids. If there are any kids in the audience, we have a microphone right here, and we have one of our staff there that will help you out. They're going to wipe you off
the
umbrella.
We have a kid.
We have a kid. I know there's probably some more kids still in the audience, but this is our brave
huge
kid.
Oh my God, is it
If you want, tell us your name.
What's your name?
I'm Belle.
What?
I'm Belle.
Belle?
Yeah.
Hi, what do you want to, did you like it?
Yeah, it was really good. You did a really amazing job.
I'm so glad you think so. What is your question?
What's your advice for somebody who might want to be an actress in the future? Do you have any advice?
Do you have any advice? Belle, do you want to be an actor?
Do you want to be a dancer or an actor? Which?
Yeah. I want to be an actress. doing musicals like this.
Man, first of all, I gotta tell you, you got a great face for that. By that I mean that I think you're handsome.
Thank you.
I have 2 grandsons. Anyway, what is the advice? I'll tell you what's very, very important. This is more important than anything else. You have to finish your education at school. I'll tell you, wait. I'm not doing this for applause. The reason for that is that if you can't get a job in show business for a long time, you still have to pay your rent when you're grown up. You still have to pay for food. You still have to pay for a lot of things. And you have to be able to do something else, another job, to keep you going until you can get a part in a play or a movie or TV. That's what I mean about you must finish your education so that you have a skill other than just being this terrific looking boy. Yes, I love boys.
Thank you, Belle. Thank you for being our brave first question.
Yeah,
That was a
thank
great
you.
question to get us started with. And good luck on your future career, Belle.
Here's a young lady, also another young person. Hi, what did you think?
I liked it a lot.
Good.
I saw your documentary recently, and I liked how you.
Of my documentary? Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
liked how you stood up for women's rights. And when I found out about the Texas abortion law, I was really angry, and I wanted to know how you felt about it.
So that's my daughter. Well, so we watched the documentary last night, and we watched the movie. We watched the movie at the beginning of the week with my younger daughter because she couldn't come today because she had rehearsal for her play. So we watched the documentary last night, and the thing that she was most impressed with was.
She said she got angry.
Well, no, she got angry after she found out about your fighting for women's rights and your abortion. And weeks ago,
Only
when the
somebody from San
Texas
Francisco would say that.
when the Texas abortion law came about, my daughter was very angry. So she wanted to know, after seeing what a strong fighter you were for women's rights in the film, how you feel about the Texas law.
Oh, I'm so shocked and I'm angry. I'm angry too. I'm furious. I think it's a horrific idea, and I think, well, it's a law now, isn't it? And I don't blame you for being angry, and you stay angry at injustices like that. You're going to be one heck of a woman. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Let me say right now, while you're asking about the film, that I absolutely treasure and worship Tony Kushner for making yes. For clarifying and for addressing all of the omissions that the original movie made. And the brown makeup and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to say these things because if there weren't that West Side Story, there wouldn't be this West Side Story. But not only that, it was a brilliant concept. I mean, it was just brilliant. So, I don't want to do I don't want to denigrate the other one. It was of its time. Let's just put it that way.
There could be flaws to good art.
61 years ago. And here I am.
Hi, my name is Harrison, and my question is, what kind of differed between the two films during the process of making them? This is kind of open-ended, so you can interpret it with, how it was produced or choreography, just kind of yeah.
The choreography, all of the people that were cast in this movie were cast by both Spielberg and Tony Kushner. I had nothing to do with that. That wasn't part of my executive producer job. My job was really, in a way, I think I already kind of said that, to help Spielberg and Tony, for that matter, understand what the issues were for me at that time. I mean, I didn't work again for almost 7 years after I won the Oscar and the Golden Globe, believe it or not. And I think my daughter put it on the head. It was yesterday, and I said to her, why do you think I had such a hard time getting a job after? I mean, 7 years is a long time not to be doing a movie. And I did turn down some gang movies, but you can see why, you can understand that. And she nailed it. You know what she said? She said, it was a one-off movie. I don't know if you know what that meant, she meant by that, but what she meant by that is that it was a Broadway show-up film. And it wasn't in a way designed to make stars. We had one star, Natalie Wood. Because I can tell you that not only did I not get much work, Russ Tamlin, nobody was knocking his door down. Nobody was knocking down George's door down. It was amazing. He did a couple of movies, but they were kind of, like that. And it was just one of those rare movies, great musicals, that didn't make stars. Yes, I got the Oscar. Yes, I got the Golden Globe. So did George. So did, the movie got tons of them. But in effect, so what? It's astonishing. It's not going to happen now, because Steven saw to it that the leading kids got tons of publicity. That management hired an enormous amount of press agencies. Very different from them.
Hopefully their stars will shine for just as long as it's as. But I like that question, Harrison, about the set, because that's a really interesting question. When we watch this film, it's so classic looking, it feels like we are stepping back, even though it has all those beautiful crane shots and things maybe that they weren't able to do. When you were on set, though,
let's talk about the sets for a second.
Because they're real practical sets.
Because all of those buildings that you saw that were on the verge of being torn down or halfway torn down, all of those areas which we shot in Patterson, New Jersey, was an area of Patterson, New Jersey that had no buildings in it. Those were built for the movie. All of those hundreds of thousands of bricks that were on the ground were bussed in. They were trucked in. All of that is a set. This building where you can see half of it sliced off and you see the inside of some of the rooms, those are sets. So if Adam Stockhausen, who did the production, who did the sets, doesn't at least get nominated, I'm going to be a really angry Puerto Rican. Brilliant sets! Brilliant sets!
And it looked like a war zone. It reminded me of Saving Private Ryan. The sets were like walking through, different from the first one.
But you know,
Really
it was outside. It was outside, and Doc's little store was there on that piece of property.
But you see how it's right up against the war zone that it is.
Yeah.
Everything right in the middle of it.
And don't you just love it that you saw pickets in it? I love that! Because they didn't want their buildings torn down. About 7,000 people were displaced when that happened, when Lincoln Center went up. And these buildings came down. About 7,000 people were displaced. And that doesn't mean that they were only Puerto Ricans. All kinds of people, all nationalities. So Tony was so tuned into that, because he's a very political writer, anyway, as you know.
Thank you for the question.
I was wondering during the making of this Pulitzer story if you ever experienced deja vu from the original.
Oh, my dear. Oh, my dear. You know the scene where Anita comes into the candy store and gets assaulted by the boys? You don't have any idea how weird that was, because I was suddenly looking into Anita's face, and my brain kept saying, yeah, but you're Anita. It was surreal. And you know what? It was difficult for me. I mean, it wasn't easy for Ariana, but it was way more difficult for me because I felt so displaced in a strange way, and I honestly don't think I was ever able to really get inside that scene until she left the scene, because it was too strange and exotic to take in. It was weird.
Great question.
Thank you, yeah.
Who's next?
Hi, thank you so much for just being such a representation for us. for so many
Okay,
years.
you must be wearing two masks because I can barely understand.
Oh, I said thank you so much for being such a representation for Latinos for so long. And my question is about representation. How important was it for the character of Anita and even in the judge for the character to be, they didn't mention it, but to be trans? Like, how important was representation in this movie?
So representation in this movie, you know, in the original, obviously, that was
It
some
was
of the
none.
issues of that
There
film.
was none.
And in this film, all that
Oh,
next cast,
well,
and then
they had-
also the transgender character.
How about that? And you know what? It's great. But you know what, it's not great? China has already said no to our movie because of her, because of that character, and so has India.
Just because of that character.
Because, oh, that's not just because for them, that's a very, very big deal. And it worries me because it means that this movie won't be making a living, as it were, earning money in India and in China, and who knows where else. And it's, I think Egypt too.
It's also sad because there are probably young transgender youth in those countries who could be so moved by seeing themselves represented on the screen.
Yeah, but they don't want that. They don't want more of them, you know.
Well, I won't promote it out loud, but maybe in a year and a half there'll be a black market version that kids can watch at home
Let me
in
tell you
those countries.
something. Do you remember a film I was in with Jack Nicholson called Carnal Knowledge? Georgia has never seen that movie because of the Supreme Court there. They banned it, and none of Georgia has ever seen Carnal Knowledge. What do you think of that? And this is now.
It's a travesty. A travesty. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to take, let's take the remainder who are in the, well, maybe 2 or 3 more. And is that okay with you?
Oh, of course.
All right.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you wanted to see this.
Go ahead.
Hi, when did you know that you wanted to be an actress?
What made me want to be an actress?
When did you know?
Oh, I was 5. What happened was in Puerto Rico, I was still in Puerto Rico, and my grandpa used to play records. You don't even know what records are, so yeah. But I used to dance and boogie all over the place, and he just thought it was adorable and cute and wonderful and would applaud. And I remember thinking, I like this. This is good stuff. You get loved, you get applauded. What could be bad? Truly. So I've been I'm wired this way. This is what I was always meant to do. I'm sure of it. Yeah. Thank you. No, you gotta lower the mic for her, please. No, just don't. All you have to do is the head. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I would like to know, how do you like to prepare for a role?
This is a good question because I'm going to tell you something that Tony Kushner did for every actor in this movie. He gave them backgrounds.
A backstory.
He wrote for every, Ariana's was like 5 pages long about where she came from, who she was, how she felt about this or that. And that's what you really, ideally, should do with a character that you're going to play in a play or in a television play. Write yourself a background, even if that's nobody has to know. You have to know because it grounds you. When you get on the set, when all of these kids from West Side Story walked onto the set, they were so grounded. They knew who they were playing, and they had it in great detail. Very few people do that. The only person I know who's done that before Tony was John Sayles, when I was on the film with him. And he gave me like 5 pages of background on this character.
So that was something you didn't have in the first film. Did you create
Nobody-
that backstory for
nobody
you?
got
But
that.
did you create that backstory for Anita?
I created a backstory, but you know what? I almost didn't have to because she was me. I knew this character. I knew this character so well. Except that she had a sense of self-respect and I didn't. That took me a very long time. That took psychotherapy.
which is a big part of that documentary, which if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend going home tonight and having it sure on Netflix and watching that on the next day.
And it's important too that you understand about the documentary. And when I decided to do it, I promised myself that I would be as truthful as I could possibly be. And that's one of the reasons it's been successful, because people love that I don't pull any punches.
Thank you so much for that question. We have two more people here in line.
Right.
Let's finish up with these two.
Hello.
I just wanted to know, how did it feel being a new character in this movie, seeing the old character that you used to in life, seeing
Well, I think I mentioned that already, because we were in one scene together as Ariana, and it felt strange. It just, there was something in my brain that was resisting, and I was a little bit envious. I mean, I'll just say it right out. But I'm a little old in the tooth for Anita. Let's face it. I had a bra that had my breasts hung. That was special, so that I could look like mine, of course, don't do that. Because I'm a queen. Queens don't have saggy breasts. But I did have a special bra that did that, which I thought was important.
Could you maybe, I know you answered before, and that is a great question, could you maybe talk about how Ariana responded? Because you're a force of nature.
She responded to what?
Being on set, maybe,
With
where
me?
you might have been on set. I know for that one scene, but like...
She was terrified of me. At the very, very beginning, she was so nervous to meet me that she kept hiding. And my first trip to New York for the movie was just costume fittings and rehearsing the songs and stuff like that. And I was asked by Tony particularly to talk to him about my experiences as a Puerto Rican in Hollywood. And then when I was through with talking, I said, Ariana DeBose, where are you? And she literally hid. And she said she had a horrific panic attack. She was so nervous. And of course, when I said, where are you? Oh, the kids pointed her. She's right there hiding in that chair. And I made her go to lunch with me because I really wanted to reassure her that there was nothing that I would do to help her if she wanted help. I didn't think she did, and she didn't. She's very independent. And in fact, I gave her a little gift at this lunch. I said to her, I'm going to give you a gift. You don't have to use it, or you can use it. But I think it will be helpful to you in a certain scene. And I don't want to mention the scene because then people will be looking out for that. But I said at one point, there was something I should have done that I didn't, and it was a vocal thing, vocal dynamics. And I said, I regret it to this very day whenever I see the movie that I didn't do that, but I didn't get any help from the director for that. And I said, let me give it to you. And I gave her the idea, and she said, I said, you don't have to use it. And she said, sounds good. I said, actually it is. It's a very, very good thing. She used it. And it's good.
She was amazing.
She was fabulous.
She's fabulous. Well, I love her in Walt Schmigadoon this year.
In what?
Schmigadoon. Have you seen that? Oh, it's Apple's show. It's a love letter to musicals, and she has a wonderful part in that.
Oh, really? Oh, I had to see that.
And the prom. Have you seen her in the prom?
No.
She's fantastic.
What? There you
Check it
go.
out when you get home.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take our
last one.
here.
Happy birthday, Rita.
Thank you.
I'm not a kid. I did see your documentary and you kind of talked about deja vu with regard to the rape scene. I was wondering, after watching your documentary and learning about your truthful things you said, having experienced the first one and watching the second one, what are your ideas about the differences? Did you feel this one was so
Oh,
much?
it's a great question, but very different. They are so different in intent. Really, ultimately, this one is, for one thing, here's what, because I really want to be careful about criticizing the other one. Without that, there wouldn't be this, as I said. But nothing social or political was addressed in the first movie at all. There was something desperately wrong about everybody within the sharks being the same color. And did I tell the story already about the makeup man?
No, you didn't.
No, okay. So I hated that makeup because it was so dark and so thick that it streaked all the time. I mean, George Chakiris has a shot of him where I swear to God, he looks like somebody took him by the ankles and dipped him in mud. It was so thick. And one day the makeup man was doing me, it was like 7 in the morning, and of course it started to streak because my skin was so light compared to it. And I said to him, I hate this makeup. This is wrong, it streaks all the time. And I said, and I'm Puerto Rican, and this is my color, why can't I be this color? And he responded with this, what are you, racist? Amazing. I mean, that did leave me speechless. I didn't know what to say to him. So that's all kinds of stuff that we were dealing with. Did I answer your question? Probably not.
Well, the actual scene,
I always go to something else.
the scene, the candy store scene with that you have in the first film that she has in the second film. The difference is, like, how do you feel it was portrayed? Was it more real or harsh, or are you so distant from it because it's such a difficult scene for you that you can't make it analyze?
But what's the question?
You know, like comparing from the first one, the first time that scene in the first film to the second one, it's a little grittier.
Right.
Like, how do you feel about what Steven did with it?
Oh, God, it's not only what Steven did with it. You can never leave Tony Kushner out of that equation because he had everything to do with politicizing it. I mean, when I saw the first time, because I hadn't been there when they shot this, when I saw Pickens, I thought, oh, fantastic, that's great. Because they displaced about 7,000 people when this happened. This area was called San Juan Hill, and it did exist. It's not just in the movie, that did exist. So it's very different. It has a different dynamic completely, without changing things that all much. But he did, they both decided to place musical numbers in odd places that you wouldn't expect, like somewhere. But how amazing. Here's what I think Steven did, since this is the last question, that was so miraculous with Somewhere. Somewhere is a very still song. And there's not a whole lot you can do with it. It's a very interior song, right? What changed by having Valentina sing it is that it became, when I say there's a place for us, the us changes. It changes completely. She's talking about her community and her people. That's what changed. And then, because it's such a still song, I mean, how long can you just stay on somebody singing a very slow, beautiful, but slow song? He cut to Ariana going to the morgue, and he would come back to me. And then he cut to the cops, and he'd come back to me. It was a wonderful, brilliant way. He's such a movie maker. It's a brilliant way to deal with that kind of song. And there were huge differences like that in this production. And of course the shots, that last shot on the crane, which goes way the hell up to about, I think, 4 stories. That's a huge crane. But look what it tells you, look what it does to you emotionally when you see it all from this distance. It's heartbreaking.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the last question.